Hello my friends, I am Carl, and today I want to continue even deeper into the conversation of emotional fitness, and specifically in this video I want to talk about the domain of emotional control. When it comes to practice, especially when it comes to physical practice, there can be a lot of emotions that come up. And these emotions are usually a representation of your affect, your mood. And your mood is usually dependent on that which you're predicting is going to happen, or in other words, your expectations versus how you are regulating. So when it comes to emotional control, we're really talking about self-regulation, is to learn how to become less reactive and become more responsive. The first time I heard the difference between being reactive versus being responsive was when listening to Zig Ziglar as I was riding in the back seat of my parents' car as a young teenager. And the way that Zig Ziglar talked about this was by comparing it to taking medication when being sick. If you took medication and you had a positive outcome, you were responding to the medicine. If you had a negative outcome, you were reacting to the medicine. You were having a side effect or an allergic reaction. The reason I share this with you is because when I look at practice, I look at practice as medicine. And medicine is intended to assist us in becoming healthier. In this case, the health is an emotional control. And the emotional control that we want to see come out of our practice is one that is less reactive, less reflective, and more deliberate. And in order to share how self-regulation or emotional control plays out in practice, I want to share one personal example of me practicing and having to be faced with my emotions and how I was able to regulate them. And to best support this example, I'm going to use a framework that I heard Andrew Huberman with Huberman Labs at Stanford University use, which is actions, thoughts, feelings, and perception. So this is the example. I am practicing my hand balancing. And during my hand balancing practice, I go approximately 1 month where I follow a program that my coach gives me. And at the end of that month, I film my practice to submit to my coach for review. And thus he can give me feedback and we can work on the next iteration of the program. Although I've been doing this for almost a year and submitting my practice on a monthly basis, when filming week comes up, I start to feel a little pressure. And this pressure, although subtle, changes my behavior. And today, the example that I want to share with you about emotional control and self-regulation is around something that happened to me during my last filming period. And this is what it is. So in this video, what I'm supposed to be doing is holding a one-arm handstand on my right hand for a certain period of time and then on my left hand. Now when I get into my left arm, where I have a little bit more of a struggle and challenge to hold these positions, especially when I'm filming for review, I start to fall out of focus. And sometimes what you're about to witness happens. Are you fucking kidding me? Just like that, I go from 0 to 100. I lose my mind. And as you can see, right after I lose my mind, I walk away with my head bowed down. And what is happening internally as I'm walking away is I'm starting to think to myself, what just happened? Why did I react that way? And while thinking about what is it that happened, I start to feel. In this case, I'm feeling shame because that reaction that I had is out of character for me. That is not who I want to be or who I want to become. And as I'm sitting in that shame and that processing of why I reacted that way, all of a sudden I gain a new sense of awareness, and this awareness being a perception of who I am within my practice. And for me specifically, this perception is a perception that is causing dissonance. My mind is going in one direction, my emotions are going in another direction, and my body is going in a completely opposite one. There is complete chaos. So the goal here for emotional control and self-regulation is to find consonance. It's to make sure that our mind, our emotions, and our body are all trending in the same direction. And the way that this happens is very simple. As I notice that I behaved in a way that is reactive and has a negative character trait, I can now make a choice. on changing that. But how do I arrive at changing that choice? Well, I need to go through the mental emotional process first. And where this process specifically begins for me is by noticing why and how I behaved the way I did. And the why is simply because I was performing for someone other than myself. I was performing for my coach. I was performing for someone who is out of my control in that very moment. The other realization is noticing that I'm performing in a way that is different than the way that I've been practicing the whole month. And the difference here is so subtle but so significant, and it's that when I practice on my own, nobody is watching me. My only accountability is myself, and thus I am fully immersed in the process itself, in the practice. But in this case, when I'm filming, I am performing for someone, and that means that I'm doing it in a way that is extracting me from the process and thus taking me out of focus. Now, with this awareness, what comes is the opportunity to make a new choice. And this new choice is to perform for the video the same way that I practice. And the way that I practice is simply holding the positions regardless of the outcome. And as you can see in this video, I managed to do the next set successfully. And it's this iterative process that we must go through over and over and over again in practice in order to continue to evolve. And this is what I call the infinite practice, as it is never ending and it has no destination.